Welcome, everyone, to a very special two-part episode of the Phoenix Report. I am Jack Connor, and this is going to be a very unique two-part episode for what was a very unique movie experience. I'm talking, of course, about Zack Snyder's Justice League, or the Snyder Cut, as we call it. This had been something I had been looking forward to for a while, and I ended up seeing it the day after it came out in March on HBO Max. But first, what I wanted to do, since it's such a long movie, I didn't want to do a strict watch-along. I decided it might be best to have several different people on, sort of giving their opinions and their thoughts on, the DCEU as a whole and Zack Snyder's Justice League in and of itself, and how it compares to the 2017 version that we got in the theaters, directed by Joss Whedon. Technically by both Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder, but you know what I mean. Anyways, for this first episode, I'm going to have several friends of mine sort of weigh in and give their takes on it. And for part two is going to be me and my longtime co-host, John Walters, talk about how we got together in person and saw it together. And we'll give our take on it, as well as running down the cast list and just sort of checking out what's on the slate for the future of DC movies, and just sort of have our own theories about what we would have done differently and what might come to pass in the future. So hope you enjoy it. Please make sure you hit like and subscribe, and follow me on all my social media platforms. I'll have the links here in the description. And enjoy this two-part review and retrospective on Zack Snyder's Justice League. Enjoy. All right, I'm here with a good friend of mine, a guy that I met recently. We were both guests on a really great podcast by a mutual friend of ours, a guy named Brian Wensloff. Brian is the host of a podcast called Reels and Heels, and this guy was either one of the guests or guest hosts. I think it's like kind of a co-host on that almost, because I know that these two guys work together a lot. But yeah, meeting this guy, we got to talking, and like we're both into comics, both into wrestling, and I was like, man, did we just become best friends? Like, I don't even know this cat, but it's great. Joining me all the way from, I think, Baltimore, Maryland. Is that right?
Yep. Baltimore.
Please welcome Darius McDaniels.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jack. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. It's funny. Every time I say your first and last name, I almost slip up and think of like Daryl McDaniels from Run DMC.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
Yep, I get that a lot.
Yeah. Very famous guy. Also a big comic book fan, by the way.
Yeah, so they have a podcast, don't they?
DMC does? I don't know.
Oh no, I think it's Method Man. He has like a Marvel podcast. I found out recently.
Does he really? Oh.
Yeah, it's called.
I know he was on Luke Cage. I know he made up.
Yeah,
a little...
I think it was called like Marvel Methods or something like that. It's on I think Pandora.
That's cool. Yeah, I remember him from that episode of Luke Cage where he like made up a rap about Luke, and it was fun. But yeah, man. So before we get into sort of your take on Zack Snyder's Justice League, I just kind of wanted to ask what your what your history with these movies are. Have you always been a big DC fan? And what's sort of for those who don't know you, like kind of explain what your level of fandom is for these things.
Well, yeah, when it comes to comic books in general, I'm a huge fan. I used to review actually for DCComicsNews.com, so it's kind of a big comic book reviewing website. So they review a lot of DC content there. I used to review I used to review Batman Eternal when it was still running. So all you comic book nerds who remember Batman Eternal, I was one of their major reviewers. And I also did a lot of other ones, like I did a Smallville season 11 comic when it was still being published.
I remember when that came out.
Yeah, so I got actually shouted out by one of the publishers on that on one of those reviews. So that was kind of like
now was this actually for DC Comics, or was this a fan site, or?
So it was a fan site, but the funny thing is as we progressed, we got access to a lot of DC's media content. So DC and Warner Brothers gave us access to their media kind of vault of pictures and videos, so we can use that for our reviews and whatnot. So
that's cool.
It was getting pretty big. I had to leave due to personal reasons, but I enjoyed my time there. So that was kind of like the gist of me getting into like actual reviewing DC content, because I was a big digest. I watched Superman, the animated series, Batman Beyond, Static Shock, and so forth and so forth. So I've always been just a comic book fan, no matter if it's Marvel and DC.
Dude, that's awesome. And you're able to write about it and get paid a little bit for it. You're living the dream, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, going into this, what was, I guess, what was some of your experience with this latest, with the DCEU? I guess, the latest iteration of all the DC films, because that's what this movie's all about. It's continuing in that franchise. And how have you been enjoying the DCEU? I guess up to this point, up to Justice League and the Justice League we got, and we could talk about that as opposed to Zack Snyder's Justice League.
So, Man of Steel was probably one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. So when we get Man of Steel going, like I love everything about it. Like Henry Cavill is Superman.
Yeah.
Just the journey of him going from Clark to actually what we got as the image of Superman. So off the rip, I was like, all right, we're on a good foot, right? And then we get Suicide Squad, which I don't hate. I actually own it on Blu-ray. I don't hate Suicide Squad. I hated my experience in theaters, but that's a whole nother story. But in terms of the Suicide Squad itself, I really enjoyed it. So then I was like, all right, down from, Man of Steel, but we're getting somewhere. And then, Wonder Woman came out, and then I was like, okay, now we're really going. Then, you have Batman v Superman, which, some people say the Ultimate Edition is better than, the theatrical run, which it really is. It's almost a different movie, honestly. Is everything more fleshed out in the theatrical run. So then we got Wonder Woman after that, which was really good. So overall, I was never a hater of the DCEU. I wanted them to go in a way where it wasn't just a copycat print of Marvel. And that's where they were going. And I think that's where they were not winning that they kept trying to do a carbon copy of Marvel instead of just sticking to their own guns. And now it feels like they're now sticking to their own guns because I love Shazam. I really enjoyed Aquaman.
Me too.
I didn't quite enjoy Wonder Woman 2. Justice League 2017 was kind of a letdown, but so far to me they only got really 2.5 misses. Yeah. And if that's your track record, then so be it.
Yeah, that's not too bad overall. Going back to Justice League, the 2017, the Whedon cut, as I like to call it.
Yeah.
Now, what were your thoughts towards that? I mean, you mentioned it was disappointing. Was it because you knew all, everyone kind of knew about all the behind the scenes stuff? Did that impact your opinion going into it, or were you just like, no, I'm just going to watch this and whatever it is, I'm just going to try and appreciate it for what it is? Or
well, as a movie fan, I always try to separate the artist from the art. So whatever personal, unless it's something very controversial, any type of legal stuff, then I'm like, whoa. But in terms of any type of behind the scenes shenanigans or antics going on, I try to separate it because the art is what I'm trying to review. The art is what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at what's going on behind the scenes.
Right.
So really, the behind the scenes stuff, I knew about it, but I didn't let it really sway. I just wanted to look at the movie for what it was, and for what it was, it just felt like Warner Brothers were trying to scramble. It felt like a scramble, and that's kind of what we got on screen. You could tell by the way the graphics was, the way certain lines was delivered. It just felt like Joss Whedon was pretty much. I can't give it all to Joss Whedon, even with the personal stuff and behind the scenes stuff that was going on. I can't give it all to him. It just felt like he was given a puzzle that already fell apart, and he was like, "Hey, fix this." And it's you can't take two people's visions who are very different and then try and pretty much amalgamize it into something, and then expect the product to reflect what the director wanted. What we got initially was a Zack Snyder kind of esque film. And then what it turned into was the Avengers, but a slightly worse Avengers. Right. And it's just at some point, DC and Warner Brothers should have just went to the drawing board, hey, we need some more time with this. Instead, they try to rush it out because they try to capitalize off the hype of, I guess, what happened with Batman vs. Superman Ultimate Edition. They try to and Wonder Woman, really, they try to capitalize off the hype. And it bombed. Financially, this movie should have made $1 billion, and it barely cracked $600 million, which to some studios is yeah, that's great, but to this being a Justice League movie, it's just imagine if the first Avengers movie only made $500 million. That's a fail.
Yeah.
So that's how I looked at it. It was just I didn't feel the passion. I didn't feel the heart. It just felt like a project that just had to be cut and paste together and then shipped out. And when you don't make a piece of work with passion, then it will reflect into the audience that it's trying to reach.
Yeah, it shows.
Yes.
Absolutely. So now with this Snyder Cut, the fabled Snyder Cut, like so for so long the studio was like, no, it doesn't exist, and then it was a thing, and it became this whole thing online where people were demanding it, and I was going into it like I was cautiously optimistic. I know for me it's like, all right, well, let's see what this is. I don't want to like think this is the greatest thing ever, but yeah, we went in and it was definitely different from what we got in 2017. So what are some of your thoughts about it? What did you like, dislike? The floor is yours, my friend.
All right, so the main thing I wanted to say is that this movie did not need to be 4 hours. And I'm normally not a main guy of runtime. Like if I'm enjoying the film, then sometimes the time just flies by for me.
Yeah.
I.e. watching Avengers Endgame, which clocks in at I think like 2:47.
Yeah.
So and you can barely feel the 2 hours and 47 minutes. But it also comes down to if the content is good. So like you get a movie like Wonder Woman 84, which I felt every minute of every second of that movie, and it really was, to me, it had highlights, but it didn't have an overall good sense of what the story was supposed to be. And so when I got into Justice League, I was kind of weary because I felt drained from Wonder Woman 84. So it took me a minute to really actually sit down and was like, okay, we're going to sit here and we're going to watch through this. And I'm going to be honest with you, it started off pretty slow for me. I think I fell asleep in like 30 minutes in, and I was like, okay, let's restart it and then go back again. So then I went back to the beginning, and again, it was still kind of slow, but I kind of expected it because Zack Snyder's movies kind of always tend to start that way. It's kind of a slow build that leads into a crescendo. So I know his kind of, feel. That's how Sucker Punch started. That's how 300 started. That's how Man of Steel started. So, and so forth. So I know he has a nice slow build, and then it normally hits a crescendo, and then you have the denouement. So I'm like, okay, let's go. So I think that you could have clocked this movie at a good 3 hours and 20 minutes, and it would have been absolutely perfect. Scenes I could have done without. I'm not going to go into too many details, but the singing of the Aquaman scene, I was just like,
yeah, the three Icelandic girls.
What was that?
Do we really need to keep this in?
Yeah. So, but in all honesty, what I love about this movie, and I thought it was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't this, jump into thespianism that, some people saying they was on like their 7th and 8th view, which I don't have that kind of time.
Right.
So
that's a lot of hours.
I thought it was good. And the main thing that I loved about it is that I felt the passion. And that's at its core. That's what this movie was. This was Zack Snyder's heart and soul put into a 3-movie trilogy. And you felt the passion. And that's what made me enjoy this so much, because you saw scenes where, Zack was really like happy for that. Like when Superman grabbed the black suit, spoiler alert.
Yeah. We're doing all spoilers here, so you can say whatever you need to.
Or the epilogue, like that was all like Zack really wanted that in, or you could fill it in Cyborg's story where Zack and Ray Fisher really wanted to showcase Cyborg's story, and I thought that was probably the best part in the movie was Cyborg's story. So, I consider that the best plot point of the story. The best part of the movie was the Flash going, like that was him going back in time, and you just seeing matter just reform. And oh man, I thought that was probably one of the best comic book scenes I've seen in a movie in a long time. Like that was really well handled in terms of the graphics, in terms of what Ezra Miller was saying while shooting that scene. Like it just, and then just to know, well, at least it hasn't been confirmed, but some people say that was him entering the Speed Force, and then him interacting with the CW Flash in Crisis was like that scene. So just to know if that is canon and if that was the scene, it just adds just another level to it. So overall, I thought this was a triumph. And to me, it's sad to see that WB do not want to give Zack Snyder more for it, because I think this is the movie that we should have gotten. Probably not 3 hours long. Probably you could have cut it to a good, or probably not 4 hours, but you could have cut it to probably like a 3:15 maybe, and still got the same effect. But this is the movie that we should have gotten, and it just kind of saddens me that WB doesn't see the type of backing that it's getting now. but you give Patty Jenkins just any amount of money to make whatever movie she wants, and
Right.
you see the review, you see how the fans reacted to that, and you just Wonder Woman 3 is coming anyway. So it burdens me because as a fan, I really enjoyed the film, and I can see where it was going in terms of the universe and in terms of what a sequel could have been. But if this is what we get for a true Justice League movie, the 2017 one don't exist to me.
Right.
Like, ultimately, the 2017 one do not exist to me, and I would buy this on Blu-ray if I didn't already own HBO Max. But this is, and I don't see me watching this movie in black and white, because I think what made the movie look so good is the color palette. Like, the black Superman suit looks freaking amazing, and I would not want to see that in black and white because that just takes away from it. So overall, I thought they made a lot of characters better. Like, I like Aquaman in this more because we got the same feel of Aquaman that we got in the Aquaman movie. I like Flash a lot better. They didn't just make him do corny lines. Like, a lot of his lines was, okay, if I was in this situation, yes, this would be my reaction to it. They made all the Wonder Woman scenes was amazing. Like, just absolutely amazing. Like, especially when she's cut off Steppenwolf's head. I was like, yes, Wonder Woman would cut off his head just for all the bullcrap that he was talking about her sisters. Yes.
She would cheered for that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she would definitely do that. And Ben Affleck is Batman. Like, he is my Batman. I don't care what anybody say. I defend Batfleck to the day I die. Like, he is my Batman. He's the Batman straight peeled from the comics. You can take Frank Miller. You could take even the Batman from the 2005 animated series. Like, he's a amalgamation of a lot of Batmans put into one, and I love it. Every moment of him just flexing money, I'm like, yes, because that's what Bruce Wayne did in the comics. Like, he really did threw money at his problems. Like, and I love that he became more human in this than what they perceived in the 2017 Justice League, and even in Batman versus Superman. We got to see a more human side of Bruce, but we also got to see kind of a desperate side of Bruce. So we got different dimensions of Bruce that we didn't see before. Like, when he was so frantic about reviving Superman using the mother box, like that. Yeah. You never see Bruce that kind of open, I guess would be the word I use, where he seems so desperate to really, bring back this iconic superhero that he knows, hey, we can't do it by ourselves. We need Superman. So I loved it. I love the character growth more than even the movie itself. Like, the character growth, where it's like I fell in love with these characters now because of this movie, more so than I did even in sometimes their own movies. And again, it saddens me that they don't want to make a sequel. I understand, though, because most of Zack Snyder's directed movies did not make any money, really, or didn't give them the type of return that they were looking for. So I understand, from a business side, I'm a business major. So, I understand business. And from the business side, you don't want to invest in, you already invested in $20 million just to get this cut off the board. So, Zack got his final due, his final project. And like I said, I appreciate Zack for this is probably, to me, his second best film. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of 300, but I do acknowledge that it's good. But I think Man of Steel is his best film to date. I think this is his second best film. His third best film is probably the Ultimate Edition of Batman versus Superman. And it feels good to have that under the table. Now I think Zack might get some calls from other, studios. Maybe Marvel hit him up,
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, I can see Zack doing
jumping ship.
I can really see him, like, just imagine Zack Snyder handling Fantastic Four.
Oh
I know they want to get the director of do they still want John Watts for Fantastic? I think they do.
I don't know. He's been doing the Spider-Man movies for them.
Yeah, but I think they got him pinned for Fantastic Four as well. But I can see Zack in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If WB don't want to give him another sequel, I'm pretty sure Disney's looking like, hey, he got a lot of following right now. Let's capitalize on it. And Kevin Feige is a smart man, so hopefully Zack gets some sort of next project he can put his stamp on it, and he can put his feel into it, and it can be another passion project, because that's what drove this film, the passion, period. Passion between the characters, the passion of them trying to save the planet and save their own personal homes. I think passion is the quintessential, key to this movie. If people who can't see that, or who want to be ignorant to that fact, then that's on them. But you can tell, like, this is passion. And if there's anybody that, any filmmaker who wants to do a passion project, this is it. This is your example. This is how you do a passion project, and this is how you do it right. Like, to be able to redeem so many characters in one movie and then still be able to, put your passion into it without too much. And the thing is, Zack wanted to put more into it. Zack wanted Superman to have the long hair and the beard.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted the black suit without the cape, and, WB gave him some pushback on it. But overall, I think that Justice League, the Zack Snyder cut, is a triumph for not just comic book movies, but for movies.
Yeah, he also wanted Green Lantern, well, John Stewart specifically at the end, but they said no, so he put Martian Manhunter in instead. Yeah, I mean, to your point, like, we're not sure what's going to happen if they're going to bring Zack Snyder back for any more projects, or really, like, or what this means for the future of the DCEU. We know a couple of the movies that are coming out, but, like, they still haven't quite figured out what they're doing with Superman or with Ben Affleck's Batman. We know Robert Pattinson's Batman movie is coming out, but that's its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I guess my last question to you is this. If you were in charge of DC Films, or if you had some creative say, how would you, taking what's been done now, how would you move forward with this? Like, what would your plan be if you had to?
First and foremost, Henry Cavill is my Superman.
Agreed.
Secondly, Ben Affleck is my Batman. I don't care how old he is. I don't care how long he wants to do it. Ben Affleck is my Batman. Thirdly, Gal Gadot has gotten better as Wonder Woman. I think the main thing is to follow these big three. Big three solid.
They're the Trinity, man. They're the big dogs.
Yeah, our solid big three is strong, and we move forward with them. It's certain directors that do not need enough room to work in terms of like Patty Jenkins was given too much space to work, and the movie that we got is not well received. You see,
right.
In Wonder Woman 84. So it's like, I think there's a certain level of leeway that as a studio head would give to certain directors, ones that I trust. Like, I trust Patty Jenkins, but I also, you gotta give them enough, room where it's like you can't let them go off too far. Then you gotta pull the leash back. So
yeah, it's that difference between being a good director versus being a good writer and storyteller.
Right.
Like, those two don't always necessarily go together.
Exactly. So that's where I would go. I would just try and, get some more control over how far I let directors go, because DC is very and Warner Brothers are very amicable with how much they allow a director to do, but they also need to make sure that they don't give them enough rope to hang themselves. So they should keep. I will keep that in mind. I will make sure that Ezra Miller and a lot of the actors don't have too much personal stuff going on, like Ezra Miller putting his hands on women. It's not okay. I feel like
really? I didn't hear anything about that.
Yeah, this was big news. He had a physical altercation with a woman at a bar in
really?
I want to say New Amsterdam, or it was definitely out of the United States. It might have been Amsterdam. It might have been. It was out of the state somewhere.
I didn't hear anything. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised to hear that, honestly, because I thought, because he's into both girls and guys, from what I hear. I mean, not there's anything wrong with that, but
Yeah, he it's actually video of him physically assaulting the woman, choking her.
Ah, that's not good. And
she was laughing, but it could be perceived as, they were playing, but it didn't seem like that on the video. So whatever intern is in charge of reviewing the backgrounds of these actors, I would definitely make sure that this personal stuff is handled right.
Yeah.
Make sure Ezra, if they don't, I don't want them to fire Ezra, but I want them to make sure that he knows what he did is completely, no matter what the reason was, is completely wrong. And now that you're so beloved amongst fans, especially after the Snyder Cut, you have to handle yourself with decency and respect.
Well, not only that, no one's irreplaceable.
Exactly, no one's irreplaceable. And to me, if it was up to me, Ezra wouldn't be the Flash, but he's done a good job, because Grant Gustin is a great Flash, and if I could, I would pull the Flash from the CW up into the movie universe any day. But now that he's in this role, I think Ezra Miller should definitely handle his personal life and personal business correctly, because now the fans are behind him now more than ever before, and
Cool.
especially with his own Flash movie coming out soon. Warner Brothers as a studio should handle that better. Overall, I think they're going good with Shazam. I think they're going good with the new Suicide Squad trailer dropped today, and that looks fantastic. So I think as a head, I like where they're going. We need a Man of Steel 2. That would be the
Yes.
first move. That would be
It's mind-boggling to me why that has not happened yet. Like,
yes.
how do you not do that?
So Man of Steel 2 would be the first thing on my agenda. I like the Batman that's coming with Matt Reeves, but Ben Affleck writing Batman movie is what I would look for, because we could get a Court of Owls, we can get an Anarchy, we could have had so much with Ben Affleck's Batman. So that would be my next point, is to give Ben Affleck, because I mean, look, who doesn't like Ben Affleck as a director? You can say what you want about his acting, but as a director, he's done really good work. And I would love to see him just take his own Batman movie and just work, like I said, keep the creative control.
Or like, even if this was like a prequel to, like, because he's been on the job 20 years, just have some of the early adventures of his iteration of Batman, just to give some more context to what he's been through.
You can use some Just for Men and blacken the hair a little bit. It takes nothing to do that.
Hey, he looks young. You have plenty of CGI footage of him as a young actor. They could do it.
Yeah. Yep. And I will, like I said, I will watch Patty Jenkins with Wonder Woman 3. Don't give it too much creative control, because we saw what happens when they just let her run the reins. We get Wonder Woman 84.
Mm-hmm.
And I think DC is finally know where they want to go with this, with the DCEU. And I trust the process right now. I think they're going good right now. I will figure out what's going on with Ray Fisher, and I will bring him back as Cyborg however I can. He killed it. I don't care what personal drama is going on. He killed it. He absolutely killed it. He handled every scene with poise and grace, and the type of emotion that came with it, and he handled it. I would definitely bring him back, even if it's like a Teen Titans movie or anything. Ray Fisher needs to be back as Cyborg.
Yeah, I'd love to see him hanging out with Nightwing and all those guys.
Yes, absolutely. And I would love to see his personality come out more. So we got the serious Cyborg. Now I want to see he don't have to say booyah, but give me the jokester. I mean, to me, his Cyborg reminds me of the Cyborg from Young Justice, but he can have some Teen Titans Cyborg come out of him too. Ray Fisher shows that he's a capable actor, so I will go with that as well. So overall, I think where they're going at is okay. I feel like they're dropping the gun on Henry Cavill's Superman. They're dropping the ball completely. I feel like they dropped the ball with Batfleck. I think, not saying that the Matt Reeves Batman is not going to be good, because it's going to be good. Like, it
looks great.
I have out of my mind that it's going to be good. But I also just think that Ben Affleck Batman could have been really, really good. Yeah. So Robert Pattinson is going to do great, and I have no doubt that as the future moving forward goes, he's going to become more and more the Batman and the Bruce Wayne that we all know and love in a way, and that we can just accept him. But to me, Batfleck will always be the quintessential live action Batman. More than Michael Keaton, more than Christian Bale. We don't talk about George Clooney as Batman, but I think DCEU is in a good place, and cool. I think they can only get better so long as they have a plan. That's all. Mapping out a universe like this, all you need is a plan. And right now, it's going in a way that they want it to, but also it's kind of still in a little hiccup phase. But I think they have a plan. I think they like the plan that they created, and we'll see how it happens, how it goes. We got $1 billion film in Aquaman. We got a multi-million-dollar films in Wonder Woman, and we got Shazam made like $700 million. Who would have thought Shazam would have made that kind of money?
They better not wait too long with those kids, man. They're going to grow up before you know it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why they need to get the ball rolling. We got Black Adam coming, and the cast for that movie looks really good. I mean, we already knew about The Rock, but Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. What? Like, you couldn't ask. for
You
a
know
better
what, man? I'll bet you this. If anyone can ensure that Henry Cavill sticks around, it might be Dwayne Johnson, because
Yes,
you know he's going to be like, I want my fight with Superman on screen.
yes, absolutely. I think he's gonna be like a big pusher for Henry Cavill to stay as Superman. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that's the case, and The Rock really puts forth an effort to get Henry Cavill back. But
If anyone could make it happen, it would be Dwayne.
I mean, absolutely, he's literally the
He's
most loved man in America. Like who?
Yeah, who doesn't like Dwayne Johnson?
Yeah, who's gonna say no to The Rock?
No, no one.
Exactly. So I mean, I never thought in a million years we'd be getting a Black Adam movie. So that goes to show you the
Amazing.
Rock's pull in Hollywood. It's like, who would have thought we got a Black Adam? Nobody.
No one. Yeah.
So yeah, we're in a good place. We're getting good. And like I said, hopefully the hiccup of Wonder Woman 84 don't continue to plague the series. I think Aquaman started on a really strong foot, and
Yeah.
hopefully we get a good replacement for Mirror, and we can
Yeah,
get.
yeah. Do you think they're going to keep Amber around, or I don't know what's going on with
it
her
was,
and Johnny
I'm pretty
and all that.
sure Deadline or Variety said they got rid of her.
Hmm.
And they don't have a replacement, but I'm pretty sure they said that she's lost the role of Mirror. So,
Gotcha. I mean,
but who
they
knows?
could get anyone else to come in and do that. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
nothing,
I mean, I know
nothing
they're
against her, but like, she's definitely not irreplaceable.
not in a long shot,
Yeah,
not by a long shot. I know they're looking at Amelia Clark, so we'll see how that goes.
that would be something.
Yeah, yeah. So it's looking good. It's looking good. But
Does Mira look shorter to you? No.
that'll be, and I feel like that's a joke that would be used in Aquaman.
Right.
So I think the DCU know how to go and get talent, and that's the big thing I can say. Both Marvel and DC knows how to go and get talent for their movies, and that's as a comic book fan, all I can do is just sit back and enjoy it.
That's awesome. Darius, thanks for giving me your 2 cents into this, man. I appreciate it. Where can the folks find you online? Anything you want to plug right now?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Darius McDaniels. I'm always on there sharing my thoughts and opinions on a lot of stuff in the world today. You can find me on Twitter at I'm Darius, I'm_Darius, I believe. And look forward to working on something with getting a podcast going. If anybody knows, I'm a big fan of Power Rangers, so I'm trying to get and Tokusatsu, so I'm trying to get a Tokusatsu podcast kind of thing going. So we'll see, man. I used to review movies when I was younger, and I'm thinking about getting back into it as well. So a lot of things is coming, a lot of things I'm working on.
That's cool, man. Count me in for some of the Power Ranger stuff. Even on my show, I've done like reviews of old episodes and just kind of had a little bit of fun with them. It's all in good fun though. Nothing malicious about
Whenever
it.
you want me on, just let me know. I'm a big dissector of Power Rangers.
Yes.
Anybody knows me who knows how much, and I'm not just talking about MMPR. I'm talking about in the entirety of the series. Like, if you need to know anything, I'm like an encyclopedia.
Nice, cool. Thank you, man.
All right, Jack. I'll see you next time, man.
All right, so I'm here with another set of reviewers. Rather than one, I get two this time, two for the price of one, which I'm really excited about. This guy has been on my show a bunch of times. I've told everyone about it. He's my cousin, one of the several cousins that I have on, but this one in particular kind of got me down the path of being a fan of comic books and Star Wars and music and everything, basically. You guys who've listened to my show know him. He's Rick Steele. This time, he's here. He's not here alone. He's here with his daughter, Eve Steele, who's now 21, which blows my freaking mind.
Almost.
Almost. Okay, so we're almost there, but I got two
month.
Steels for the price of one, so this is cool. Rick and Eve, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jack.
So, I mean, I remember when the Snyder Cut came out, I was asking you guys, like, hey, when are you going to see it? And I know you probably didn't see it all in one setting. How did you guys see it? Did you break it up over a couple nights? What happened?
So, to be completely honest, because I'm, obviously with the name Steel, I've been a fan.
You are the
Man
Man of Steel.
I've been a fan of that my entire life.
Yes.
I'll be honest, I watched the whole thing the day it came out.
Gotcha.
Started to finish.
Oh yeah, I remember that. And then you showed it to us.
And then I showed it to the girls. But when we saw it with the girls, we did break it up because, like you said, it's way long.
It's a long sit. Eve, were you mad that your dad saw it before you did?
I forget. Did you even tell me?
I told you as we started watching it. I don't think you were mad because when I told you how long it was, you were like, yeah, I couldn't have watched it all at once anyway.
I think you said you watched like. No, I think you said you watched most of it, but you didn't finish it. But then as we were watching it, you kept on like mentioning certain things.
Well, I
I'm
didn't
like,
want
you've
to
definitely
spoil
seen
it
this
for
before.
you. Yeah. I don't want to make him.
You know, sometimes Christina gets mad at me when like I see an episode of whatever show we're watching together before she does. So it's kind of a similar thing, but you know, not so much with movies. Going back to that, Rick, obviously, you know, growing up, we were massive DC and Marvel fans, so I know you were in the bag for this. Eve, were you a fan of this stuff as well? I mean, obviously your dad was. Did that kind of rub off on you, or were you just like, this is just something my dad likes?
I definitely like it. I just don't like Batman.
Yeah,
You don't like Batman, the character of Batman?
Superman. Well, you have to understand, Jack, from your and I point of view, our Superman was always Christopher Reeve.
Right.
And so, you know, that's what kind of got me into it, that in the comics. Eve was too young for that, obviously wasn't even born yet. So her, other than the occasional cartoon, you know, me talking about it, and to an extent, Smallville, which really wasn't a Superman show, but a Clark Kent show.
Yes.
Eve's real first introduction to Superman was Man of Steel.
Oh, okay.
And then Man vs. Superman.
Okay.
So looking at it from that point of view, in my opinion, seeing Batman in that light,
Gotcha.
Superman, Nemesis, kind of soured Batman on her a little bit.
Understandable.
I hate him.
Yeah, he did, which is a little. I mean, one of the reasons why I have issues with that movie, with Batman versus Superman, is just I thought it painted Batman in a very out of character version of him. Now, towards the end, he got nice again. He got a little more recognizable, sort of the Batman that your dad and I grew up loving. But yeah, towards the beginning there, I don't blame you necessarily. So yeah, that was going to be my next question. You know, asking about the DCEU, this current crop of movies. What sort of you guys' feelings were going into it? Because before the Justice League movie that came out in 2017, there was Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, the first Wonder Woman movie. There was Suicide Squad, but that doesn't necessarily, you know, have too much to do with this. I mean, other than the fact that it's DC and some of the villains were there. So, Rick, what were some of your thoughts about the movies leading up to this? Did you have any issues with any of them that came out, or did you like all of them? Like, what was your take on that?
You're probably gonna have more issues because I don't nitpick movies. I like them all. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the question goes for both of you, by the way, obviously.
Yeah.
I'll go first quickly. To be completely honest, although not everyone agrees with me, I'm all with Eve on this one. I loved Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
I really did.
Me too.
For a new try at Superman, I liked almost every single part of it. I had very few issues with it.
Yeah.
I love Henry Cavill. I loved Russell Crowe as Jor-El.
Yes.
I was kind of ambivalent on Lex, but I still think he did a good job. You know, maybe
Jesse Eisenberg, you mean?
Yes.
Oh,
I love Jesse.
He was awesome, man.
What about Michael Shannon as Zod? Wasn't he awesome? Wasn't he?
He was great. He was fantastic.
So intense.
Absolutely fantastic. Lois was good, you know, if not great, she was still good. And I'll say it 15 times, whether you love the character or not, the fact that Ben Affleck got you to hate him just proves to me he did a good job for what he was supposed to do.
That's true. Yeah.
So I really liked Ben Affleck as Batman.
Yeah. I agree.
He's an older Batman. He's been doing it for 20 years. He's tired. He's angry. He's almost given up on the world.
Right.
And it took the fight with Superman to kind of bring him back, right?
Yeah, I think that's one of those things a lot of people agree on, whether or not you like the way Batman was written in the beginning of the movie. I mean, the performance itself by Ben, I thought he was a very convincing Bruce Wayne, you know, a very convincing Batman. Even for a guy who has a name value already, you didn't think, oh, this is Ben Affleck. You could tell, like, yeah, he's Bruce Wayne. He's Batman.
Definitely.
You can definitely tell that. Yeah.
As far as Wonder Woman, we both absolutely love that movie. I think we would agree.
Yeah, that was great.
It's so great to see a woman have the star and role.
Sure.
It was great to see Gal Gadot. I loved her. It's one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. I absolutely love Wonder Woman.
Wow. Okay.
Aquaman, I thought was decent. Eve actually hasn't seen it yet, but that's okay.
I loved Aquaman.
Yeah, I liked it very, very much. Without spoiling too much, one of the things that the comics and pop culture has teased Aquaman for 50 years.
Yes.
Turns out to be, in a way, what saves everyone.
Exactly. Yes.
Was pretty.
All right.
I loved his brother. Well, his half-brother.
Yeah.
He was great.
Is he the bad guy?
Yes. I love that his human father is Boba Fett himself, Tamora, which is great. And like you said, Suicide Squad. So, to answer the question, like them all, definitely was a good setup for Justice League. No. Skip what?
It sounded like you were just like, I don't even want to talk about it.
Oh, no.
I thought that was on purpose. That was pretty funny.
Suicide Squad is kind of a story on its own, right?
Yeah.
Am I the only one who actually loved that movie?
No, I liked it very much.
I enjoyed it too. People really had issues with it, and maybe because of kind of like this movie, there was behind the scenes stuff. The studio interfered, maybe. I was fine with what we got, but if they release,
I love Jared Leto as the Joker. I'll say it again.
Yeah, if they ever release the Ayer cut, of this one, I'm all in. I would love that for that to be a thing.
Absolutely.
I heard they got rid of so much stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, I liked him very, very much.
So speaking of director's cuts, let's talk about the version of Justice League we got in 2017. Did you guys see that? What did you think of it? Did you have issues with it before seeing this, or anything like that?
So here's the thing with that.
Wait, can I say what I was saying?
Yes, you can.
Just because, yet again, I like all movies. It's like when I first watched it, I didn't think anything was wrong until people started giving their comments, and then I could start to see what they didn't like.
Yeah.
But just from watching it, I was like, this is awesome. But now I'm like,
yeah, just as a movie, if you weren't that familiar with the characters and you just wanted a fun movie to go watch, my parents, in a weird way, are kind of the perfect people to give a description. They were, although my dad knows a lot more about superheroes than my mom does, they both loved the first Justice League. We saw it in the theater. So the point, even for a non-fan, they had a good time watching a cool movie.
That's interesting because a lot of people were saying this is never gonna appeal to people who aren't diehards. That's all this is. And the fact that your parents, my aunt and uncle, appreciated it is really, really cool. Really cool to know.
Yeah, they had a good time. Now, for me, this isn't a complaint. It's just something I definitely noticed when we heard the horrible news about what happened to Snyder's family. Not to be terrible, but his good friend stepped in and said, I'm going to finish your movie for you, which I thought was wonderful that they got someone to come in and finish it. And it just is the way it is, but I can watch that original Justice League now, and almost scene for scene, I can tell you, yep, he Avengered it. This is where he Avengered it. This is where he Avengered it. Like, this was Snyder, this was not. This was Snyder, this was not.
That's interesting. Were Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon, were they friends before this?
I mean, I guess I'm assuming that's why Joss offered to do it. I thought he kind of came in and said, let me finish your movie for you. Maybe they hired him. I thought I had heard that he volunteered.
Yeah, I didn't know if they were friends or if they knew each other before.
I guess we just assume everyone in Hollywood knows each other.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I mean, they're all famous directors. I'm sure they bumped into each other at some point.
And he made it fun, and that's fine, right? I love the Avengers. I always will. They have their comedic moments. They have their lighthearted moments. And I could totally see that what he was trying to do. His point was, I'm going to make this a fun movie that I think a large range of people could watch and love.
Yeah, there's a lot of comedy in it. It wasn't as dark.
Right. And as Eve will say here, I think she would agree, they definitely did not give you much Flash and Cyborg story at all, did they? No. Because as I'm sure we'll get to, one of the things we loved the most and noticed immediately about the Snyder Cut was finally we're connecting with Cyborg and Flash more.
Absolutely. So let's get in. Now that we've had all that set up, we've got all that out of the way. Now let's talk about the Snyder Cut. And I mean, just 4+ hours. You knew that it was going to be packed, but yeah, let's talk about some of your thoughts while watching it. We don't have to go scene by scene, obviously, but you mentioned the Flash and Cyborg stuff, but like, how different of an experience was it for you guys watching that as opposed to what we saw in 2017?
Like night and day, right? I mean, completely different. The way I think even I agreed afterwards that the destination was always going to be the same, but the journey was so much different.
Agreed.
and had so much more to it. I absolutely loved the Snyder Cut.
So much of it reminds me, like the closest thing I can think of that happened before this was what happened with Superman 2. How,
Yes.
the originally shot by Richard Donner, the first two Superman movies in the 70s were filmed back to back originally. But, because there were some changes in the studio, I'm not sure what happened behind the scenes, but Richard Donner did not finish his cut of Superman 2, and then they brought in Richard Lester to finish it. So the version of Superman 2 that came out in the theaters in 1980 was much different than what he had imagined. And it wasn't until 2006 where he was able to release his version of it. Now, they had to go back and redo effects, and it looked a little weird just because they were going through archival footage because so much time had passed, from 1980 to 2006. But that finally got out, and that got a DVD release. I definitely recommend seeing that if you haven't. It's pretty wild to see. So, but this, they had 70 million, an extra $70 million to throw into this, plus the ability to film those extra scenes at the end. So obviously there was a lot more footage that was shot that never made it, but they finally got to finish it. And
oh yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's almost too much to even know where to start on what I love. Let me.
Oh my, Green Lantern.
Go ahead. Yes, just
so
seeing more of the Lantern was great. Which Zach, I don't remember his name, but I'm sure you do. The Lantern we saw.
The one from the legendary battle.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know that character's name. However,
because he's 5,000 years ago or something.
Yeah, he would have been just an ancient Green Lantern. However, a couple things related to Green Lantern in this movie. I knew when the original Justice League movie came out in 2017, there were some trailers that had that one line of dialogue said, "No lanterns, no Kryptonians. They're on their own." So that was the first time they've really invoked Green Lantern. But one of the nightmare scenes where it looked like Gotham or Metropolis or one of the cities were leveled, you saw this close up of the Hall of Justice, and this is a tiny little Easter egg. But you could see some dead heroes buried underneath the rubble. One of them looked like Kilowog, one of the Green Lanterns.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of. Kilowog. Thank you.
Yeah. Now the guy in the ancient scene, I don't think that was supposed to be Kilowog.
Right. Gotcha. What I was going to say though, the moment I knew that I was absolutely in love with the Snyder Cut was what I still consider one of the most beautiful scenes I've not only ever seen in a superhero movie, it may be one of the most beautiful scenes I've ever seen in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
When the Flash saves that woman whose car crashes.
You know who that was, right? That's Iris.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Which you know from
the show.
Is she in Smallville?
Well, no, she's in the show.
In the CW Flash show that's on now.
Oh, you looked her up. Gotcha. Yeah. So she's right. She's an important character.
That's cool.
But the way that he rescued her and just ever so gently, inch by inch, lowers her to the ground.
Adorable.
It was. I thought it was one of the most beautiful scenes I've ever seen. I absolutely loved it. Fell in love with it.
It's instant, love at first sight. You see him looking at this girl, and you could tell.
Oh man.
Yeah, very sweet.
Oh, man. And yet at the same time, you had to put a little bit of his just amazingly comic nature in there because he turns and he's like, "Ooh, snack," and grabs a hot dog. Right? I just loved everything about that scene.
So cool.
What did you think about Ezra Miller's portrayal of Barry Allen as opposed to other versions of Barry Allen we've seen?
I think he's great.
That was great.
I think he's great. I mean, he's only done it twice, I guess, basically.
Right.
But I think he's really cool. And as far as I know, they're still doing his movie.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll get a little bit more of his acting chops in there. But hell, I've loved him since
Fantastic Beasts.
Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
Was he in Fantastic Beasts?
Yes.
Ezra Miller?
He's
there you go.
He's the orphan kid, right?
The weirdo kid that keeps getting beaten stuff.
Right. But I loved him.
A little something for the Potter fans in there. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is cool.
I absolutely loved seeing so much more of Themyscira, Wonder Woman's homeland.
That main scene with them when they're protecting it. That was so cool.
So great, and just to see so much more of that ancient battle. It was just described so much better this time.
And they had
Yeah.
Zeus.
They had, well, yeah, Zeus was there the first time too, but you barely saw him.
Looks so much cooler in this.
Having Ares in there and having him be this, they CGI'd the same actor's face who was
David
Ares,
Thewlis, yeah.
which
So
was
cool.
great to see him doing that.
Obviously, they had a body double. They wanted someone who was
Obviously.
big and jacked, all that.
But the way that the Queen described the battle, about how all three races' theories about each other was that you can't trust each other, you can't ever work together, it'll never work. And she says something like, but we fought against that, and we fought together. And I just, that scene set up for me. I absolutely.
Yeah. How about Steppenwolf? That was great.
So, as soon as we saw Steppenwolf again, both Eve and Emily, this is a perfect example of the younger generation loving him. They were like, "Oh, he's better already. Like, look at his suit. Look at the way the armar slithers and moves."
It reminded me of the Shredder from Ninja Turtles a little bit.
Yes, yes, it does.
A little bit.
Great example, Jack. But even the girls were like, "He's so much more intimidating now."
Oh
right?
yeah, well, I mean that's sort of been the consensus, that visually, like the effects have improved, especially with regards to Steppenwolf.
Yes, getting to see Darkseid was pretty awesome.
So surprising when you watch the trailer. I was like, okay, they're gonna have like the big bad right in this movie. All right. Who's that guy he was talking to? The guy with the hood?
Desaad. That's just another one of his minions.
Yeah, he's like one of Darkseid's minions. Basically, like if this were Game of Thrones, he would be the Hand of the King.
There
okay,
you go.
That makes sense.
Good example.
He's cool.
Loved seeing so much more of Cyborg's story. Losing his mother, the pain that his dad went through. Obviously, they tried to give you a little bit of that in the original cut, but it made so much more sense now. Having him sacrifice himself at the end, that got me right in the feels.
The dad? Yeah.
The dad. Yeah. That was so good.
Joe Morton, the great Joe Morton, playing Dr. Silas Stone. Of course, I remember him from Terminator 2 as Miles Dyson.
Absolutely.
Blues Brothers 2000, he was great in that. He's a great character actor.
He was in Smallville too.
I actually saw him live at Disney World one time when he was reading the Candlelight Procession at Christmas.
Oh, that's cool. That is cool.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, there's so much. But one other quick thing. I was only disappointed because for anyone who didn't know, which is probably a lot of the fans who saw it.
Oh, they interrupted to say.
The Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
Oh, so you know the story about that scene.
Well, I loved seeing him. I did. But I think most people are like, who the hell is this? Why is he here?
Right.
And what does any of this mean? Right? I kind of felt that if you're going to put him in, that's great.
Do a better job of explaining who John Jones is.
Right. But we need to know a little more here.
Couple things about having Martian Manhunter in there. For one thing, that scene at the end that they filmed, originally that was supposed to be Bruce Wayne talking to John Stewart, one of the Green Lanterns.
Okay.
And they named an actor, I forget the actor's name, but they cast an actor to play John Stewart, and they had filmed that scene with Ben Affleck. Now, for whatever reason, I guess the studio stepped in and said, you can't use John Stewart. I don't know why. I don't know if they have like particular plans that we don't know about, but I guess Zack kind of relented. It's like, all right, whatever. We'll put Martian Manhunter in there. Kept the footage that
they're going to do a Green Lantern movie on their own, and maybe it's not going to be John Stewart as the lead.
Possibly. I mean, I've heard rumors about HBO Max putting out a Green Lantern series out.
Okay.
I don't know if that's going to be DCEU or what that's going to be, but that's supposedly something that's in the pipeline. But for whatever reason, they said no, and Zack kind of gave in. It's like, all right, I'll just have Harry Lennox film his deal as Martian Manhunter, keep the footage I have with Ben, and then put it that way. So,
but I did love how he goes to see Lois as Martha.
Yeah,
but it wasn't really Martha.
That was weird.
It was weird until you consider what I think was the point of that. Somehow, some way, he knew Lois has to be there. She has to be part of it. He has to get out. I almost want to say that somehow
he might be in tune with those nightmare scenario visions.
Yes.
I mean, he is a mind reader. We do know John Jones can read minds. I mean, you guys like you and I do. Most people don't, but I'm just saying.
But man, the little things, like even the setup of her going to Superman's monument every day, and she brings that copy.
My whole problem with General Swanwick being John Jones this whole time, Bud, where were you during the Kryptonian attack? You could have helped out.
Hello?
Oh,
dude.
Doomsday was there. Probably could have used your help on that one, John.
I definitely. Oh, that's such a great point.
He might not have been him at that point. Maybe.
Or
then why would
maybe he
be
just took his identity. No, because then what happened to the real guy?
Yeah.
That's true.
Right. Yeah. What happened to the real general who later the secretary? Maybe he just didn't want to blow his cover. Maybe that's part of it. But
that could be.
But
still, yeah, they definitely could have used his help.
Yeah, he could have helped. This must have.
Exactly.
And people were all over Metropolis.
And also, I guess he must have read Lois's mind to know who Martha Kent is, and also to figure all that out.
Good point. Good point. But
yeah, a whole bunch of
setup of her being there every day made it perfect for when Superman shows back up and needed to be calmed down.
One of the things I think that made the difference in this version of the movie, the music and the score.
Oh yes.
Because people talk about the effects a lot, and they're great, they're fantastic, but the music really set the tone in a lot of the scenes.
Yeah, it did.
Because I think they brought back Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL.
Yes.
To do that, because I think for the Whedon cut they brought in Danny Elfman, who's
which good as he is,
iconic composer in his own right. He did the Batman '89 theme, and I think he did kind of work a little bit of that into that cut of it. But
gotcha. Yeah,
that's a weird choice. Then.
I love the music that they kind of replaced with the Aquaman scenes. I love the music during the legendary battle. Yeah, I love the music.
Even like the Wonder Woman stuff, they kind of kicked that up a notch with some of that, like.
They did. Yep, it was cool. It was cool, really cool. Yeah, her seeing that this is just a tease because I saw it online, but I loved it. And my response is, yeah, she could do that. She is that badass. Mm-hmm. She makes that giant leap apparently down into the ancient tomb to find the prophecy, and her heels are in perfect condition.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Not one bit.
I love it.
Complained online, like, how could her heels survive that? And I'm like, because she's Wonder Woman, bitches. That's how.
It's like, really? That's what you're going to bump into?
She knows how to land. She has perfect balance, and she has damn fine
agility. Land on the balls of your feet. Everyone knows that. Come on.
Boom. Exactly right. Exactly right. But yeah.
If there's criticism to be had of this movie, I think a lot of it is directed towards the runtime and some of the more self-indulgent aspects of it, like a lot of slow-mo shots, which that's kind of Zack Snyder's thing. I mean, I'm sure if people who hated Zack Snyder's movies and the DCEU, if they hated the other movies, I don't know if this movie is going to necessarily turn people around.
Right.
But I think if you liked it, I think you're definitely going to love this. Obviously, the 4-hour runtime, I think they did that because they could. It's HBO Max. No way they could put that out in the theaters by itself.
Yeah, since they knew they had all the freedom, he's probably like, well, hell, since I can do it however I want, let's just do it 100.
And he had the chapters, which helped.
Yes, the chapters helped.
That was cool.
Kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Like, the extended shots of, like, the Icelandic girl singing, for one thing. Like, did we need that?
That's a good point, Jack. I was a little off on that one until I guess the way I think of it.
Yeah, you should have heard Emily. She was, like, cringing and be like, can she just shut up?
Yeah, Emily didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
What I took from that
Emily is Rick's other daughter, Eve's sister, by the way, for those listening.
Sorry, yeah, thank you very much.
Sorry, yeah.
Yes. Emily is the 13-year-old going on 27.
Oh, yeah.
No filter. She'll say exactly what she thinks.
Oh, yeah.
What I got out of that scene, and tell me if you agree, Jack, was that they were just trying to show us that these people basically considered Aquaman and maybe all Atlanteans.
They worshipped him. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like legendary status.
Sure.
Right. It almost made me think that maybe they've known about Atlanteans even before Aquaman. That maybe their legends go back even farther.
Well, maybe. I mean, because you look at that part of the world, a lot of that is steeped in, like, Norse mythology, and Aquaman stuff isn't necessarily Norse inspired. It's more like Greek inspired, because, like, Poseidon and same with Wonder Woman. You have, like, the Zeus and Athena and all the Olympian gods there. That's rooted in Greek mythology more than anything else. But I'm gonna say, it's like you think at any point they're like, hey, do you guys know Thor? Like,
right. That's pretty cool. Oh, I loved seeing Willem Dafoe.
Yes.
Having some scenes with him was really cool.
Yeah, I knew he shot some stuff as Volko, and Great to see some more footage of J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon.
Yes. Oh yeah. More stuff with Mr. Gordon. Sorry, Jack. That was since Eve hasn't seen Aquaman yet. Shouldn't know who Falco is.
Oh, Green Goblin.
Right. Yes.
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 Yeah, he plays a guy called Nuitas Volko. He's basically Aquaman's mentor. You'll find out when you see his movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He helped.
That's not much
raise
of a
him.
spoiler.
No, not really.
That's cool. All right.
Yeah.
Wait, Superman.
Oh,
Best
and of
character
course,
of all time.
best character of all. Got to talk about Superman.
His black suit.
His black
so
suit
cool.
was cool. Now,
I don't know why he wore it though. I guess he just thought it looked cool.
Yeah, they never really explained why he wore it. Now in the comics, I think part of the explanation is that during the Death and Return of Superman story in the early '90s, when he came back to life, he needed something. He didn't have all his powers, and I don't know if the black suit like absorbed sunlight, which gives him his powers.
A bit more quickly.
They never really said that in the movie. I just always assumed that he went to the scout ship and maybe had a couple of different other outfits hanging up there. He says, you know what, I'm going to go with black today.
Yep, I'm going to go black and silver this time. Why not?
You like to accessorize. Plus, we'd seen like Zod, and the other Kryptonians wear black, so that might have been more updated Kryptonian clothing. That's always my theory on it.
Yep, I thought it was a cool addition. I absolutely loved his slightly different entrance scene to the final battle, when he got right in the way of Cyborg getting chopped with that axe, and he just said, "Not impressed."
That was cool.
Loved that.
Yeah, didn't they take absolutely out that whole scene of like helping the people out?
Yeah, they sure did.
Yeah, that random Russian family.
Yeah, the random Russian family. I mean, I get that.
I'm totally fine with that not being there.
A human element there, but you didn't need it.
Not necessary.
So what did they put in it instead of that? I forget.
They just didn't show that anybody lived near there.
Okay.
Was the whole point, which kind of makes more sense because the way they described that part of Russia, like nobody could live there. The radiation
it's like Chernobyl, basically.
It's like Chernobyl. You wouldn't want like nobody would live so close that they would be immediately affected by the aliens being there.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. That's cool.
Either that or they killed everybody. Either way.
They killed everybody, which horrible as it is, it would at least set up the bad. Yes.
Either way, they didn't go into that random
Either
family
way, they would be there.
That we spent an unusual amount of time with in the last movie.
Yes, we did. As cute as the little girl was, just wasn't there. And I still love how, although they never really come out and say it, I think Batman pretty much was of the opinion he's not coming back from this mission. Yeah. And that's why he told them all, you do what you're supposed to. I'm going this way. But of course, they all show up anyway. They're like, asshole. No, we're a team.
Yeah. Not letting you go out like that.
Yeah, you don't get to go out in a blaze of glory.
No.
We all go together.
Oh, wait. One thing I didn't like, I think.
Okay.
They took out like one line that I love that Superman said to Batman, because, I don't like Batman. So I wanted him to say that line, and he didn't say it.
So, you remember in the...
Well, I know you didn't help me out because you liked me. And I don't
not
like
just
you.
that. No. It was when Superman picks up Batman by and he says, "Do you bleed?"
Yeah.
Because Batman said that to him.
Batman said that to him.
Right, that was a callback, yeah.
So that scene, I loved that line in the original.
That part they did in this version, though, like, he was about to laser Batman in the face. That was nuts.
Oh, yeah, sure the hell was.
I would have laughed.
Sure the hell was.
I would have laughed.
Slipping super quick back, Jack, because you reminded me of it. Back in the original Justice League. I'm sorry, in the original Batman vs. Superman, just super quick. Some people online got very angry because when Superman didn't realize yet that the kryptonite gas had affected him, because in essence, he didn't know what kryptonite was yet.
Yeah, that's true.
Or at least if he didn't expect it. And he goes to punch Batman, like right in the face, and Batman completely blocks it like it was nothing. People online lost their minds. They're like, oh my God, Superman was going to cave his face in. Superman was going to crush his skull because he's so strong. And then someone said a perfect response to it, which I still use to this day. How do you learn how to hold an egg without crushing it? You learn by practice. Do you honestly think Superman doesn't know how hard he can punch? Do you honestly think man can't stop himself from crushing your skull in if he doesn't want to?
That's a good point.
He was just going to hit him hard enough to knock him down.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just give him a little tap.
Just a little tap. That's all he was going to
and had full intent on killing him.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the many issues I have with Batman versus Superman. There were moments in that movie that I really liked. Don't get me wrong. There were parts of it I did like, but as a whole, I still have issues with it. And even though as much as I like this, I do wish they made some different choices along the way. The whole premise of it was flawed. Really wish they would have gone about it a different way. And I wish Flash and Cyborg and Aquaman would have had their movies come out before Justice League. But look, what's done is done.
Correct.
It is what it is. But
yeah, to your point real quick of Superman really trying to melt Batman's face off. That's why it was such an intense moment.
Yeah.
Because Superman doesn't kill people. He wouldn't do this. No, he's really fine.
Hey, that is. They brought him back
not
like
at all.
Pet Cemetery.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, he's like a zombie at that point.
They took out that I loved of the original.
Oh, yeah, the Pet Cemetery
when Flash
stuff.
was saying this will either be great or it could be like Pet Cemetery, and then when he started going crazy, he's like Pet Cemetery, Pet Cemetery.
Yeah. There were things in the Whedon cut, like there were some good lines in there that, because there's this one scene that where Bruce is talking to Alfred and he's like, Superman was more human than me. Like he had a job, he had a girlfriend, he lived in the world. Like, he's the best of us. That's why he needs to lead the team.
Good point.
Like I kind of wish they would have left that in. But look, they had plenty of good stuff in this one, so I cannot complain.
And can I say this one more time? The Flash. In the original Justice League version, as they're about to wake up Superman, and Flash gives the good example of, as I approach light speed, I build up enough energy that I think I can kickstart this thing. And it was a great scene, right? He runs up to the cube, the mother box, just as it's hitting the fluid there that Superman's in, he touches it just at the right moment. But in this version, they changed it. They changed it to the point that the mother box starts to hit the water. He hasn't reached it yet.
It goes back.
And then he's going so fast, time reverses.
That was
that he was so proving what Flash can really do. He can go light speed or as close as a physical object can and not actually maybe be at light speed. And I don't even mind saying, I don't care who teases me. The first time I saw the movie by myself, and I'm getting choked up now, I was completely choked up when the Flash was going so fast that he undid everything.
Towards the end?
Towards the
wild.
end. He was outrunning reality. He was outrunning the timeline. That was one of the most incredible scenes of the entire movie for me. I absolutely loved it with every fiber of my soul.
Very cool. Very cool.
It was so great. So great. That saved us all.
That's awesome, guys.
And something my dad said, because he remembers both too. He loved how Flash and Cyborg, in a way, they kind of saved everything. I mean, but they did so much on their own that if they hadn't done it, everything would have been lost, obviously.
Yeah.
And real quick, Jack, in case we're running out the clock here, I have a very serious question. One thing that completely baffles my mind still about this movie, and I don't understand, although I absolutely loved the scene with Joker. God, I loved that scene.
Yeah, that was wild.
When they asked Jared Leto how was it getting back into the character, and he said, I loved it. He said it was a little different because when you're trying to be the same character for a different director, things can be different. But I did get back into it, and I loved his take on it, and just the whole conversation with Batman. Just the fact that although they're bitter enemies in a weird, very twisted way, they are kind of friends too.
That whole scenario is wild. Like, even imagining a universe in which those two could work together is mind-boggling.
Mind-boggling.
How bad do things have to be where these guys are on the same side?
And when Batman tells him, you better be careful what you say next. And of course you knew right where the Joker was going to go.
Yeah.
Just stick that knife in and twist it a little bit.
Robin?
Yes. Oh.
Wait, so that's
the second
dream?
Robin.
Or is that an alternate reality?
That's my question to you, Jack. Were they just showing us the future they prevented? Or were they showing us an alternate timeline that still exists?
That is the $1 million question. But here's what I understand by listening to some of the interviews that Zack Snyder has said, he's kind of come out and said what his plan would be for future movies, like how he would finish it. Which I guess I don't know why he would say that now. Perhaps like he doesn't think that they're going to let him back in. I don't know, but I think the scenario that they were laying out there is that this is what happens if in a scenario where Darkseid does wipe out most of the planet, and these are the survivors.
So in a future.
And that's supposed to like tie into that scene in Batman versus Superman where Barry showed up in the Batcave.
Yeah, because that wasn't in this. Yeah, or like they made no mention.
Because he had that suit of armor on. He had a little bit of facial hair going on.
So I wonder in the Flash movie we're going to see him go back in time and do that.
But the fact that Bruce like experiences it as a dream, like it almost seems like he's dreaming this, that puts the question. That's a really weird choice, like where it's like you're not sure if it's actually going to happen or will happen, or maybe something he's dreaming up. It's just it's a bizarre thing, and I gotta say, as much as people love the Nightmare stuff, I'm not over the moon about it, just because it's like there are so many other interesting stories they could be telling, in my opinion. But it's interesting to see it on in live action and what they do with it. It reminds me a lot of Grant Morrison's comics in the 90s, where they would do these weird stories like that. But I don't know. Like it's something that could happen.
Okay.
It might have been something that does happen if Zack Snyder, if they bring him back to continue the Snyderverse. Is what they call it.
That would be pretty great.
So
but yeah.
I don't know.
I would give it a solid A rating.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope if they do go there in future movies that they at least give it some time before you get back to Darkseid coming back. Like we had like almost 10 years lead up to Thanos and the Infinity War.
Oh, sure.
On the Marvel side. Like they took the time to really establish the universe and establish all these characters so that when Thanos did show up, it meant so much more. I would hope if they go that route that's the way they would do it. But again, I don't know what what or how they're going to do.
Darkseid was.
Yeah, good point.
Right.
Eve didn't know who Darkseid was, and can't say this enough. The last scene where that portal's open and they're looking right at Darkseid and are basically like, "We're between you and this world."
Oh
asshole.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, it's like
try it again.
Mess around and find out.
Mess around and find
That's
out.
Cool.
Damn right.
I love that.
Very cool. Well, guys, this is awesome to get both of your opinions and viewpoints on this. Obviously, Rick, you and I, we grew up on this stuff. Eve, being a young person, being a little bit more new to the fandom, it's cool to hear your take on it as well. And obviously, the fact that we're family doesn't hurt at all.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. So,
Ricky, final thought on Justice League Snyder Cut.
Awesome, loved it.
Total awesome.
There you go. That's all I needed to know. All right, so the next person I decided to go to was someone who's been on my show before. He not only is he a musician, he's someone I've known for many, many years, but also happens to be one of the biggest DC EU fans. I mean, one of the biggest DC fans, period, but definitely loves the Snyder Cut, and he was one of the original, like, release the Snyder Cut guys, like, who I knew. He was all about, the rumor mill about when it came out. He's like, dude, the Snyder Cut is real. I know it's real. We've got to put it out. And he loves pretty much everything Zack Snyder has ever done. Even the stuff that I bump into sometimes, he's all in for it. So I had to have this guy on, because he's one of the biggest DCU fans I know. Please welcome back to the show, David Marffit.
What's up?
Not much, man. Thanks again for calling in. So I'm just going to, just kind of let you sort of tell what your history with the fandom is. I know you've always been a fan of this stuff, but why don't you just describe for the listeners, what your relationship is to not only DC, but specifically DCEU, this current crop of movies. Just give them a little background, if you don't mind.
Well, to try and summarize as best as I can, in the 90s when I was growing up, that's when they were doing the Death of Superman and the Reign of the Superman arc. And that's when I started reading comic books and stuff like that, and it really inspired me. So they were already in the Return arc, and they had like the Cyborg Superman, and Terminator was a thing back then. So I saw some Terminator Superman and was like, maybe I should buy that.
Yeah.
And I got into it and obviously backtracked further into the past with the storylines, and it was mostly Superman and Batman stuff back then. But I don't know. To fast forward, when Man of Steel was announced, it was like an exciting thing for me because modern film technology, obviously, everything looks great. You know, it's beyond the days of yore with Christopher Reeve kind of looking CG'd in the green screen or whatever. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like modernized.
Yes.
So I was excited, and when I went and saw the film, the imagery kind of reminded me of how my imagination felt when I was a kid, reading those comic books, like how some of the alien technology looked and the Kryptonian stuff and what they wore. So it visually struck me. Henry Cavill's learning to fly scene still is, like, to me, one of the greatest comic book scenes in any movie.
Classic.
Because, it's pretty wild, you know, and really awesome film, huge, killer ending, and like it left me kind of super impressed and spellbound and ready to see what was next. And then when they did BVS and everybody trashed it, and like all these like supposed critics said all this bad stuff, and I was out there like, what the hell's everyone talking about? That was like the most intense thing ever, you know, especially some dark, older, gruff, terrified Batman feeling helpless, trying to like kill everybody in sight. Oh, damn. It checks out. It wasn't very good for the Batman lore because, you know, his no kill, no guns thing. But that was shaky when you introduce a crazy man who's never seen aliens and has been Batman his whole life, and now there's aliens. Like, oh, he's already nuts, and now he's wigging out more.
True, man. I know a lot of people appreciated that. I know for me, being a diehard Batman fan, I definitely still have got issues with that movie. I'll admit it, but at least they got where they got to.
He was killing everybody. He really was. He was super kill happy.
Right.
It was written into the story that he was changed and darker and meaner and everything. So, you know, it was explained and it checks out on a psychological level. But I understand that people were mad about Killy Batman, but I mean, it checked out to me. Like,
gotcha.
The flying alien, you know what I mean? Put yourself in that dude's head at his age. The flying alien with the laser eyes that chopped the whole building down and killed everyone.
Yeah.
What the hell do you do about that?
Right.
He's not sure. Probably go nuts and figure out how to get kill happy, which he did.
Right.
But hey, we're talking about Justice League, and was that not a redemption arc for Batman fucking up?
I agree. Absolutely it was. Now, I got to ask you this, Dave. When you saw the 2017 cut, the Whedon cut, did you have issues with it, and just or was that? Did you like the movie you saw, or were you just more frustrated knowing that what it could have been?
I actually tried to convince myself that the film was okay, and I watched it a lot, and some of the concept was kind of cool or whatever. Like, obviously, the Snyder Cut shows you that the structure of the story with everything was still there, but the presentation and the details were totally different. Plus, he shot that thing in that crazy big letterbox format.
Yeah.
And then Joss Whedon shot everything standard and then took all this nice looking film and filtered it differently and basically cut it wrong because you were zooming in all the time now. So it didn't have consistency. Like, the film didn't look the same. You could tell that there were edits. Obviously, the CG Cavill mustache thing is an atrocity.
Yeah.
That had to have been a setup, dude. I've seen such great CG in movies nowadays and older films, and I just don't see how they failed at that. Like, you know what I mean?
That whole situation was nuts. Like, really, they couldn't have gotten him to shave on set. Like, that's ridiculous.
They said he was contracted for Mission Impossible, and you know what? Hollywood contracts, when they pay you millions of dollars, you gotta listen.
I guess, but it's like, wouldn't it have been less expensive for them to just put some like makeup or some prosthetic? I don't know, man. It's facial hair. That's not hard to replicate, weird. But whatever.
Well, Henry Cavill's a hairy dude. Like, most of the stuff that you see in the pictures, he's always got mustache or chops or a beard or whatever. So presenting him as Superman with that super clean shaven face all the time meant that they had to polish all kinds of details up when they shot him with a mustache, dude. It's garbage. They were making putty out of his face.
It's ridiculous.
To digress on the reason why I didn't like that version was also because even though Suicide Squad was an edit nightmare, it was edited to be like a giant trailer. I enjoyed the story concept of it. Like, I'm able to kind of still chew on the extended version of it because there's better details that build the characters more.
Me too. I liked that movie.
That and Wonder Woman maintained the vibe that I felt from the two Snyder films.
Yeah.
Like, all all of those work together. They all appeared to exist in the same sort of like universe, like with the contrasting of how the films looked on camera, even though it was different directors. Like you can chew on all of it and say this all works together.
Yeah.
So when Justice League came out and it was like weirdly brightly colorful and genuinely to me looked like an Avengers attempt to be an Avengers copy, which Joss did.
Right.
But it was terrible. Like freaking like Bruce Wayne looked awful. The shooting of the reshooting, I should say, was terrible because I mean I'm stupid attention to detail sometimes over crap that doesn't matter, but I could see the difference in people's faces and shots. I could be like, dude, why did Batman just lose all his gray hair? And I'm like, well, I've spent millions of dollars making a movie and you miss details like that? That doesn't check out to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, and plus Steppenwolf was garbage. He looked like he was from a PS3 video game. It was bad.
I mean, the overall consensus of this thing seems to be that like the Snyder Cut is just on a completely different level. It was just such a massive improvement from what we got in 2017.
Well, he also went extra because he got the opportunity and the money. You know what I mean? Like some of the I read was that he always had an editing nightmare trying to make the film because they were trying to, have a specific runtime, you know what I mean, to not make it too long, but he had this idea of this storyline, and it made sense. He had there were a lot of characters to introduce, but he did a good job at soft introductions in Batman versus Superman, and also we had a Wonder Woman origin film that built her up really well. I thought Wonder Woman was pretty awesome. I like that movie.
Agreed,
the sequel sucked. 84 sucked.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan either.
But anyway, that's not what we're talking about. But all that stuff did a really great job, and it continued in my brain that inspiration from my childhood reading those comic books. I liked the vibe. As an adult in my 30s, my imagination as a little kid coming to life in such a crisp and vivid, colorful way on screen. I'm into that, It's like I kind of waited my whole life for somebody to come out and make movies about, fantastical stuff that I'm into. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. So what were some of the highlights? And I know there's so much in this movie. It's over 4 hours, but I know there've got to be some particular scenes or moments that really stick out to you. What were some of your highlights and favorites?
Well, Flash's introduction was so epic. It was like the whole slow-mo situation and all of that, and like how the detail about how he's going so fast that he had to just like barely touch her to safely put her down on the ground. You know what I mean? Like, it was awesome. The song playing and everything, like the super vibey. What else was really cool? Getting to see Willem Dafoe actually in the film and showing that even though James Wan supposedly tried to stick with Zack's lore for his Aquaman film, Willem Dafoe was like a different guy. He was like a rugged, long-haired dude. They also showed you that the Atlanteans can't talk underwater. They have to make signal sounds, and they got to create a bubble around them in order to actually talk, which in Aquaman, they just talk in the water. So that screwed everything up. And also Mira. Let's talk about Amber Heard with her
different
public
accent.
reputation or whatever. I'm not into that chick because I heard all the Johnny Depp crap or whatever.
Right.
Aside from that, I hated her when she was introduced in what's it called in the original Justice League because she had this like Valley Girl California chick voice, and she's supposed to be this like old Atlantean princess or whatever, and I hated it. And I was like, this girl and her terrible acting. How are you going to be an Atlantean and be a Valley Girl?
Right.
Well, guess what? In Zack Snyder's cut, all of the original stuff he shot, she had an accent about her, like an English twang or whatever.
Yeah.
And it sold it so much better to me. And I realized, because some of the shots were actually the same, that for whatever reason, Joss Whedon decided she shouldn't have an accent, and he re-recorded her voice to be some regular.
That was weird.
What a shitty creative idea. That's not creative. That's garbage.
That was weird. And she didn't have the accent in James Wan's movie either. But getting back to what you said about seeing them talk underwater, I sort of interpreted that as that's probably how it actually sounds when they talk underwater. But but like the reason why they did that in the James Wan movie is like from their perspective, that's how they would hear each other, though. Like they probably spoke a different language, but just for the sake of this movie, like they record the lines in English.
What? If she had to slap the water and make an air bubble to talk, then they should have been doing it in the other movie too.
Yeah, no, I know, but like that's like the thing about like, you know, when you're making a movie like that, it's just like from their perspective, like they probably were speaking a different language, but for the sake of this movie, like the dialogue's recorded in English, just because like otherwise the whole thing would be subtitled.
Okay, I will say I'm a continuity guy, and like when I'm not into horror anymore, but when I was young, I'm like born in '84, so I liked Freddy and Jason and stuff like that. But even then, I hated when horror films would like make a bunch of sequels and the continuity didn't make sense.
I agree.
And then later on, when they started doing comic book stuff for us, the first one that really started to be like a series was X-Men.
Yeah.
And they did an X-Men trilogy, and then all of a sudden kept making movies.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Between all of them, there's no
completely
continuity.
upside down.
There's things that don't make sense everywhere.
Agreed.
And that bothers the shit out of me because there are certain things I like in some of the movies. Hugh Jackman's cool, some of the other characters, but my brain can't let go of the fact that altogether the puzzle pieces do not fit.
I agree.
So
agree 100%.
When I was sold on some things and I heard all the rumors about like how WB was having like a bunch of conflict and editing nightmares and making dumb decisions, I saw it in Suicide Squad, but the other three movies to me were decent, you know, but Justice League proved to me that they weren't trying to have continuity because just visually alone, from an artistic sense, how can you look at all those ugly colors on screen and then look at all that stuff that happened before and ever feel like it's even close to related to each other?
I agree. What were some of your other favorite scenes, you know, throughout it?
Actually, even though the story was similar, I was surprised when Superman showed up and blocked the axe like nothing.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah, because like I thought the original version when he did the air blow thing and like froze it or whatever, it was kind of like it felt ham-handed. Like, oh, we're finally going to show Superman's freeze breath power, but this one, he just like being a subtle douche about it. It was so awesome, man.
Yeah.
And like Cyborg was a character that sold me really hard in the original, and I felt like there needed to be more about him.
Yeah.
And when they showed you like inside of his mind, like what his like system, kind of like how he operated it, it was really cool. I even honestly, I'm one of those guys that's on Jared Leto's side that they just worked him to death and didn't show anything that he did that was worth a fucking Suicide Squad. I think he got a bad rep. I still didn't like the tattooed gangster looking Joker, but I bet you if they would have had a lot more of that and continuity instead of reshooting and rewriting it, it would have been more acceptable. His arrival in another nightmare scene at the end of Justice League, I don't know, like to me, it was one of the more intense, like on-screen Batman Joker moments because the whole like darkness backstory, bringing back up the dead Robin, but then Batman coming back at him, talking about how apparently, you know, Harley died in his arms, and the fact that he snatches that card and he took the truce card because now you can't do anything, and he admitted that he almost got him, and I was like, dude, that was so powerful that why are we not going to get an entire apocalyptic Armageddon film out of this? You know what I mean? Like the Snyder rumors were always that he wanted to do 5 films, that he was going to do 2 leading up to Justice League, and then there was going to be 3 of them with like this crazy ending. That Nightmare World, that would be a crazy thing to present for like 2.5, 3 hours because it very similar to the Injustice storyline.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
The video game.
The Injustice games?
I haven't played them, but I've heard about it. You know, the stories that they tell in it.
Super good. The graphics suck on the first one, but the story's great and they work well together. But Injustice was basically like a 2-Earth thing, you know, like parallel universe situations that they do with comics. But the way it was treated is that there was like your regular world and then the other world, or the other universe, I guess you should say. And Joker's doing the same thing in both, where he's trying to blow up this nuke and make Superman crazy, kill everyone in Metropolis. And in one of them, he succeeds which drives Superman mad. Lois Lane's killed, and he goes crazy and becomes this oppressive whatever, and the regime runs the world. And in the other one, when the bomb goes off, it just blasts some of them through time into the other world, and they gotta figure everything out.
Okay.
But like, without saying too much about it, it just, the evil Superman like storyline, the way they presented it in those video games, which is just a game, was really cool, man. Like, sometimes I pull up the games and I just try to play through them on easy mode because I'm really trying to like watch the story more than play the game. You know, like, get the fight over. The storyline's cool. And Zack was definitely hinting at that with everything that he was putting in there, even from Man of Steel a bit, because they presented him this Kryptonian like heritage with that codex being embedded in him, that like it's his destiny to eventually destroy that planet. You know what I'm saying? Like the Zod nightmare that he says he has, and he's buried in the skulls, and he's in the black suit.
That was nuts.
Think about it. They put him in the black suit for that scene. And all of a sudden now we got black suit Superman in the Zack Snyder's Justice League. And even at the end, when he pulled this thing open in the classic Clark Kent going to do Superman stuff, he was not wearing the regular colors. He was still in that black suit.
He was,
He's pushing for that Armageddon like land, and that I would love to see that. Can we get just ultimate brutality out of this and have that weird Nightmare Squad situation and show you the devastated world and show you how they're going to fix it?
I mean, I feel like they're leaving money on the table here if they don't, pursue that. I feel like with all the fan support, I'd be shocked if they don't change their mind eventually. But that's the optimist in me.
Yeah, I'm the same. And I mean, the Snyder Cut thing, actually, it freaking happened.
Yeah.
It's silly because it's only for our entertainment, and like the corporations out there have billions of dollars. They don't need our money for this crap. However, I'm sure happy that somebody spent like $1 billion to make that Zack Snyder's Justice League, because it is like a big old graphic novel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's huge. It's not one comic book or two or three. It's like, if that was an actual comic story, that would have been like a half a year's worth of writing to build all that.
Giant-sized annual,
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mentioned the Death of Superman arc from my childhood that got me into it.
Same here.
And I definitely have all of those graphic novels for
Me
it.
too.
And the return is huge. I'm staring at them right now.
Yeah, I've got it too, man. It's amazing. But yeah, man, so that's cool. I'm glad you dug the movie. Everyone seems to be very glad that this exists, and hopefully it's not the last, as far as Snyder,
it was pretty.
That remains to be seen.
Pretty film.
Yeah.
It was like somebody like spent the time to paint something that somehow magically came to life.
It was a work of art, for sure.
Yeah, it's an art piece for sure. I like the letterbox format too. The square is like a different... Actually, okay, one more thing. This is an observation, because I had to go back and do the 3 movies in a row. I saw in Man of Steel and in Batman vs. Superman why Zack wanted to use that letterbox format, because like the end epic battles, he always was forced to tighten up his camera work too much, so he had like these big wide shots, and then he's really close to like Superman and Zod flying and everything. You had like no remedial ground to feel the scale of it, because he could never put a full character in screen up close, and like we had a ton of big giant every character from head to toe in Justice League shots because of that letterbox format. That's a vision, you know what I mean? And nobody's done that before, as far as I'm concerned. Nobody on this level, and it looked great, man. It looked really awesome. The bars on the side didn't bother me, and it was like a big old comic panel the whole time, and super dramatic, cool looking stuff. Steppenwolf's weird, shiny, alive armor was a pretty impressive feat of CG, in my opinion, because
I agree.
That whole, they had to use some crazy light program to do all that reflection, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Looks great in 4K. This is coming from a guy who likes Marvel, too, by the way.
Yeah.
I like what Marvel did, and I thought that Thanos was, in my opinion, one of the most, the best realistic delivery of a CG character in a film. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
That guy looked like he was there in the room with them all the time, and all his facial expressions, and he had a lot of feeling. And I was really into that.
A lot of subtlety too.
I love DC a bit more, and I want to see more of that stuff like that, but I had to always give it to them that I was like, Marvel's owned by Disney, they bought George Lucas's stuff and everything, so they've got all the resources to do the best, but I still, comparatively, that garbage Steppenwolf, like, PS3 looking character in the old Justice League,
right.
Why would you ever do that?
Yeah.
Especially when you had the potential to impress people, CG impresses people. Go back to Terminator days. I brought that up before. In the 90s, they did their first like liquid character, that was fully digital and everything, and it was a challenge. But
plus you had Joe Morton as Dr. Stone, and he was Miles Dyson in Terminator 2.
I know. I kind of enjoyed that whole cross machine thing. Oh man, and him sacrificing himself in Justice League. See, that's another thing. Beautiful. I told you, if you talk, I'm going to ramble forever.
Yeah.
His death that you never ever saw or experienced, or even, you know what I mean? Like, that wasn't a thing at all in the original Justice League. And the fact that he was in that room and like that superheater literally cooked that dude to death, but he just boldly stood there and didn't twitch and looked at his son. I was like, damn, like,
powerful.
This might not be real, but there was a lot of powerful emotional direction with like every single one of the characters. They all kind of had a personality that was very strong. Even Wonder Woman, she was brutal. Yeah. She was like, between the old version and the new version, she was just like the beast that was always really necessary to show up and start fighting.
Dude, she cut his head off. She didn't care.
That was amazing. No, that was amazing, dude. I'm like, so we're gonna really do this triple, just wreck them. Like, wow, they just Superman beat the hell out of Steppenwolf. He was just down there punching the shit out of him over and over again. Like, brutality, but they're superheroes. So, like, if that's real, that's probably how it would go down.
Yeah.
A sound of Superman and like the combat thing. Here's what stood out in my childhood: the first encounter with Doomsday, when he's in the sky. And the kid, Mitch, and his mom are in the house below.
Yes.
And the Doomsday Monster hits Superman super hard in the air, and the kid, Mitch, looks up and goes, shoot. That sounded like thunder. Okay, you want to know what that brings me back to? In these movies, man, like, especially in Batman versus Superman, when freaking Doomsday flings Superman up out of the freaking the ship, and then he hits him straight towards the statue.
Yeah.
So it's like, pow! Like, that's the sound that my little kid brain created in my head every time I looked at that panel in that comic book.
Same here, man.
And Zack gave that to me.
Yeah.
So whether that's just on accident and I'm making the correlation, or maybe that dude knew exactly what was up because he read that same page and said, shoot, sounded like thunder. That thing needs to hit him hard when he comes out of this building. Bam.
Yeah.
I love it.
Cool,
Stupid
man.
details that I love.
No, dude, I
details are what makes these things awesome.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it turns into Justice League.
Exactly. Dude, I love hearing your take on all this. I love getting just hearing your enthusiasm about it. I'm so glad that we could do it. Always appreciate hearing your take on all this stuff. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah, for sure, buddy.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and make sure you stay tuned for part 2 as me and John Walters give our takes on everything. And granted, I'm sure we might repeat some of the talking points. I'm sure some of the talking points have been repeated a little bit already in this, but that's what happens when you get all these different people weighing in on the same movie. So, thanks for listening, guys. Hope you enjoy it, and stay tuned for part 2.